All right. Hello, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls. My name is Thinker St. James. Welcome back to the channel. I am joined today by the wonderful Chase Parton. How are you, sir?
Dude, we are fucking living, ready to review another episode of our good show, The Cage.
That is correct. We have made it to the midway point of this one and seemingly only season of The Cage. So, this is our review of episode 3. Before we get into episode 3, Chase, I have another recap of episode 2. Would you like me to get into that?
Go get into that. I would love that. It's been a while, guys. I'm sorry.
Yes, we took a little bit of time off between 2 and 3, so getting back into the swing of things, I think it's good to come in with this little recap to catch us up to where we had gotten to, then we'll get into 3.
I would like to note first that I think it is now three episodes in, and I think I can tell you that the main character's name is Taylor. I would like to point that off first, so go ahead and start it.
Absolutely. Well, let's get into the recap here to refresh the memory on some other stuff. In episode 2 of the show, our hero, Taylor, has magically transported himself to Montreal, Canada, finding himself face to face with the George St. Pierre Obama statue and then face to face with the actual George St. Pierre. GSP takes our hero to the nicest cabin/resort compound in all of Canada, where they train in his outdoor lakeside octagon with George's team. The hero gets his ass kicked in training as usual and gets thrown into the lake. Back home at Taylor's shitty gym, shitty coach gets told by his star pupil that he is indeed a shitty coach and that his star pupil is leaving the gym. Also, big bad villain Ibrahim is catching flack on the internet for waffling on committing to the fight with Taylor in KSW, even though he's the opponent that everyone wants to see him fight because of the viral clip seen by everyone on the planet in episode 1. To help get the villain to accept the fight, GSP goes on to the MMA Hour with Ariel Helwani to shit talk the fight into existence. Then, once the fight is finally accepted, GSP says, "Okay, kid, your training is complete," and sends our hero back to his shitty gym, still needing a coach who's actually worth a damn. Shitty head coach is there to do the job not only for our hero, but also for the only woman in the gym, too. The KSW fight is confirmed, the contract is signed, and out of nowhere, our hero's shitty mother now has a shitty boyfriend who asks our hero to throw his fight so that they can cash in on the loss because they think her son sucks and they are just plain shitty people. Taylor tentatively agrees, but keeps on training. Shitty coach comes crawling back to Taylor, who calls him on all of his bullshit, but still also accepts his services once again, even though he still sucks as a coach. We get to fight night. Solo female fighter has a fight in the big show. She wins, then sits a mile up in the rafters to watch our hero and the villain have the most contrived fight of all time, leading to a split draw through a number of very specific plot conveniences. Our hero is elated with this draw. He thinks it's going to lead to a bigger and better career for him now. But what it actually leads to in the short term is a kiss with the gym's only female fighter and an implied domestic violence incident between his mother and her boyfriend as we close out the episode. Did I miss anything, Chase?
No, and I'm glad you left it as the recap for what we knew going into episode 2 and at the end of episode 2, because shortly you'll see that there was maybe a little differences in the story that we thought at the time. So I'm really excited to get into this one because this episode is wonky.
Yes, a little bit of a left turn, a plot twist, as it were, to start off episode 3. So, I mean, I guess I'm ready if you are. Do we want to just jump right into this thing?
We can jump right into it. I will say off the bat, my notes, I took a lot of them, but there were certain times that I can tell you that I was watching and I really didn't have much to say. Like there was certain scenes that had a lot going on, and then the ones that didn't, it was just bare bones kind of things going on, at least for me.
Yeah, no. So what I'll say to start this episode's review off is that this is the episode, to me at least, where this show's lack of experience in the world of television writing is starting to catch up with it and bite it in the ass a little bit. There are some elements of the narrative that are starting to not really work in either an MMA sense or in a regular storytelling narrative sense to me. I mean, or like they're working to the extent that they are existing within this world, but they're definitely not of a caliber that should be like heralded as good, quality when it comes to television writing.
Yeah, this one, we'll get into parts that I think are really good, of course, and then we'll get into the parts that I don't think are great. But yeah, I think we'll just get into it. I think that's just best.
For sure. All right. Well, so then to start off this episode, as we kind of alluded to, immediately we get a plot twist where the mom, who it was implied might have been beaten up by her boyfriend, mom was not beaten up by her boyfriend. Actually, she was beaten up by bad guys, basically. Some people that the boyfriend is in business with somehow, presumably maybe the bookie that he placed the bet with. The boyfriend lost a good amount of money on Taylor, our hero, not throwing the fight. And so the people that he is now indebted to were coming around sending a message by beating up his girlfriend, Taylor's mother.
Yes, so it exactly started like that. I wanted to know that they weren't just figuring out what had happened because nobody seems to know what happened. Taylor is very unaware of the situation at this point. So he's asking in a very interrogative way to his mother, like he's on, like, who did this? Like, who beat you up? And the boyfriend's just sitting there like, I don't really know. I don't know what to tell you, dude. Like, I mean, you threw the fight. That's the funniest part is like he specifically said, this wouldn't have happened if you would have lost. Like,
yeah. No, I have something for that as well. Where
yes, yeah, go ahead. No.
So yeah, so I mean, just to say that, like he says, you not throwing the fight is why this happened. So you got to help us now. And this is actually not untrue because he did agree to do it in the second episode, which is like, look, I understand that the kid is pulled in a lot of directions. Obviously he's on the spot. He's being put on the spot by his family, who's already kind of not in the greatest situation, but a man of his word. It's like, if you agreed to it, yeah, it's like I don't know. Like he did not specifically send his mother out to get her ass beat, of course. But there is a kernel of truth, I guess, in what the boyfriend is saying, even though it's not valid and he should not have done it in the first place, I guess.
I would like to imagine that if this were a we're watching supposed to be like a very in-depth depiction of what this is supposed to be like. And in my opinion, in this moment, if this were real-ish, Taylor would kill the boyfriend. Like he would just murder him. I'm a trained MMA fighter. You just have my mom beat up. Like, I mean, probably would lose some screws, along the way to this point. He might have just murdered this dude in cold blood. And listen, if that were me making the show, that's a great fucking show right there. If he just now we got a story. Now we got a story. But that would be wild, but no, I think that would have been warranted, to be honest.
Yeah, no, you make a good point. Like how you were describing it, where it's very like calm in the atmosphere of all of this. He really is just standing there, kind of like, what happened? What?
Yeah.
Who did this? All this guy. It's like, yeah, there was really no passion. Now, I don't know if that necessarily comes from him just like. I don't know. Like, there's a couple of different ways you can interpret it, I guess is what I'm trying to say. Like, is it because he is sort of a meek character? Maybe that's one way to look at it. Maybe he is just trying to figure out the details. I mean, like the whole deal with him, like being sort of like not in the greatest position with his mother could also be part of it, where it's like, well, mom, damn, what did you get yourself into this time, kind of thing, I guess could be another interpretation of it. But either way, you would think that underneath all of it, that if he still does have like a that mother-son relationship love that, yeah, he would come back like, wanting to rip up the entire world to find out who did this. And if he thought it was the boyfriend, then all of that anger could have been immediately directed at him.
And it's really funny because like the boyfriend is there in this whole scene as if he should not be on thin ice with everybody. Like he's just sitting there like comfortable as hell, just like chilling, like, man, like we fucked up, guys. It's like, dude, you should be out the equation. You've already done too much getting them involved. The fact that it didn't go your way and now you got the mom beat up. How are you still in the house? Like, how are you still here? I don't know.
Well, yeah. I mean, now it's even further into the bear trap. They're sinking quickly into the quicksand. They're going deeper and deeper now because the clock is ticking. $40,000 debt is now what is on the table here, and maybe there's a month that the boyfriend was saying that they have to get the money before his mother potentially gets her ass kicked for a second time. The bad dudes are really legitimately bad dudes because the boyfriend never seems to get his ass kicked, and he's the one doing business with these assholes.
That's what I think is like. I think I'm getting at too is I know we want to move past this scene, but like the Taylor throughout the episode is continuously saying like, I'm just trying to help my mother. It's like, dude, if you tell her to get rid of this dude, he could go get his ass beat all he wants by the loan sharks. If you have no affiliation to him, if he's not just staying at your house, if you're not just a place for him to live, they ain't got no quarrels with you. Like, I mean, if you don't know him, then, whatever. But
well, presumably at this point, if it's like typical mafioso kind of mentality, they're going after the loved ones,
true.
Intentionally. So I would guess that that's implied here. But again, it's implied. This is also something that's going to be coming up a couple of times here, is that the show is now getting to the point where they're implying things that we should think about characters when we're not actually shown that information. And that's really a hallmark of poor writing, where it's show me, don't tell me. I mean, like, we're going to get into a couple of instances of that in this episode. And I was like, I mean, like, you could have done very small and easy things to show the stuff you're trying to set up, as opposed to literally having characters just say it out loud.
Yeah, I'm hoping it's the scene that you're thinking, because I was kind of confused on a scene or two that were coming up. So we'll get into it. But yeah,
there are two that stand out, and we'll get to those for sure.
Perfect.
But so yeah, back at Shitty Jim now. Apparently, this horrible performance in the draw that he had with the villain really is propelling his career, because our hero and shitty coach are already choosing his next opponent.
Yeah. No, I mean, this one, I started out by saying coach is actually trying, giving him the keys to success, on the next opponent, like this guy's, you could beat him. They were actually seeming like he was giving him hope for a victory, even though he's been telling him he fucking sucks for the last, however long it's been, presumably another, couple weeks or a month between, but whatever. Actually giving important information. You can beat him easy, is what he said specifically. And then this is for a whopping $10,000 to show up and a $10,000 to win. So if you do your math there, that is still $20,000 short from what Taylor needs to get by the end of the month. So
sure,
keep that in mind.
And definitely keep that in mind. But also, why is it that they think he could so easily beat this opponent? Well, it's probably because it's a dude who's 10 years older than him, coming off of 2 losses and on the last fight of his contract. So for realism to an extent, because it is like them saying that this would be a layup for the young up and comer. You know what I mean? Like, this is a dude who's on his last legs. They're basically implying like the Tony Ferguson kind of situation here. And I mean, yeah, in theory, that could end up being reality if it was what ends up happening. But of course, we will talk about what does end up happening, and it is not this. However, I did think it was an interesting note there that, like, yeah, we're trying to set him up with like an easy sort of layup fight to kind of ease him into the organization, which would probably have been an actually decent route for him to take if he didn't have this looming problem with the mother over his shoulder. Because yes, he is concerned about getting money now, and the coach has to break the hard truth to him that if you're not a star in this sport, you're making dick money to start out with. The fact that he thinks he should be valued even at $10,000 for that second fight after the split draw in an organization outside of the UFC is wild in and of itself. I mean, like, this dude is thinking that he is I mean, like, we know guys who are fighting for beer money.
Yeah,
that have
no,
wins under their records, you know?
I think it's just really funny that this is a show about mixed martial arts, and the way that they're portraying the biggest promotion in the sport is like you're gonna be broke as fuck. It's like that's how we perceive it as the audience. Was like in a in film and media, shouldn't you like talk it up a little bit? Like, if 10,000 is what people actually get for win and show, like, okay, it's a movie, it's a TV show. Say 20, at least make the UFC not look like people shouldn't go there after you watch this show, kind of deal.
Well, and I mean, they are talking about KSW in this instance here. They do say that the UFC doesn't pay very well to begin with either. But like either way, I mean, the fact that even 10 grand is in the conversation when, if you recall, this kid has had a fluke knockout in a sparring session and went to a split draw with the same opponent. And
They,
this is the strength of what he's going into this next fight with.
Yeah, you actually bring up a great point because I watched this whole episode, and we've been uh detached from the other episodes for a little bit, so I kind of forgot that this guy's a global superstar. Like he's literally like the guy that everybody watched a video of. Like
And
so,
this is what makes it a little bit of, an interesting and odd situation, because it's like, on the one hand, this world has built it up that he is a global superstar because everyone on the planet knows him. Yet in the reality, even within that world, one sparring session that got filmed and went viral and a split draw in the actual promotion. Is that enough to equal up value
yeah.
to the average fight fan? I mean, I guess this world is making us believe somewhat that is the case.
I think also when you come to things like this, to films and shows like this, it's hard to portray like experience being gained over time. Like so we watched a dude who got beat up by the girl in the first episode. Then he gets to the UFC, like he's on the UFC desk after a flash knockout goes viral, and then he's just back at the gym. Like this is just a weird. I don't know. It's hard to explain that. Yes, he's getting better because they can't just show him training every time. But like in the story, like we just saw him 2 episodes ago losing in sparring to a woman. That's like I'm not trying to make it seem like that, but like if he's supposed to be the guy, like I don't know.
This show has a definitive problem with time, as far as like how it's presenting things in a linear fashion, and timelines. Like that's kind of speaking to what you're talking about, where it's like it'll jump to him being a killer, and then it'll kind of regress to him getting his ass kicked,
Yeah.
and then it'll jump over to this plot point here, and this is happening, and then we won't go to the next thing, and it's like, how much time has elapsed between those two
Mm-hmm.
things?
Yeah.
And this will become very apparent a little bit later on in the episode, and I'll tell you why then.
Okay.
So yeah, for now, go ahead.
Okay, so going back to it, $10,000, and then he's like, "All right, that's it. That's what we're doing. Let's go train." So they go into the train. Coach is actually coaching. Like he's in the cage with them, holding the pads, telling him, "No combo, do this combo," which he does later. We'll bring that up. He's teaching him the combos. This was the moment where I got a little confused because we see a character, and I did not remember this character because we had never seen him train before this moment. So I thought, oh, this is just a new student, the white friend or whatever, like the guy, because he's looking over in the cage, and I'm like, why is this new guy like overlooking Taylor? What plot point is this? Later on, I realized like, oh, this is just the friend guy who we've never seen do anything. Like, so
It's a good point. Yeah, it's his friend. It's the one thing that his friend did in this whole show before this moment, basically, is he was the one that tried to stop Taylor from fighting the big bad villain in the first episode. That was
yeah,
pretty much the only thing that he has done. It's because really, like, the friend group is the three of them. It's Taylor, the hero. It's the funny fat dude who's the comedic relief guy, and then it's this guy. But he really has not had much character development in the slightest.
and
So
then he
there's gonna
gets
be.
a bunch like really quick. Apparently, like this is weird episode
Are
for him.
you're speaking to exactly why the writing is getting a little bit cumbersome. I think, to be polite about it. It's getting a little bit unwieldy for the type of story that it's telling, because it's starting to add information in, like, in bunches and in weird pieces, as opposed to just letting information unfold in a satisfying manner.
Yeah. So we got the friend character looking over at Taylor in the cage. It's kind of a weird scene. Don't really know what he's looking at. He's just like kind of like, oh, Taylor's learning. And then he's actually getting distracted. Like the coach, because there's a moment where the girl walks in the cage, which I find very funny. We'll get into it in just a second. Taylor
Sure.
is getting distracted by the girl. The friend is getting distracted by Taylor. So both of the coaches at like the same moment, they're like, "Hey, pay attention," and they're like, "Oh, okay." They get back into it. The thing about the girl that is interesting. So the two, apparently, there's another girl on the gym.
I was gonna say another female magically appears.
Yes. So she comes in and they're in the cage doing nothing related to the cage. Like, couldn't they have done that outside the cage? Like, no, they were literally put in the cage just to distract Taylor. Like, the coach was like, all right, you're going to be there. We're going to make sure he's on his shit. And then he pops him and trips him. He's like, you always got to be looking, always pay attention, type shit. I actually put the trips him for liking women. I put that was exactly what was. He tripped him for liking the woman next to him. Whatever, I don't care.
Well, and this is one element right here, this scene that we're talking about, where I want to give the show maybe a little bit more leeway than I kind of feel like I should be, and I'll tell you why. So we have a friend named Bloomis. You probably heard us reference Bloomis occasionally on the stream. Bloomis was from Denmark. And at one time, Bloomis recommended a movie to me to watch. And so I watched the movie, and the movie was presented as a comedy. And throughout the movie, like, there was a lot of times where I wasn't really like laughing out loud through a lot of it. There were certain things that like had comedic overtones to it, but I felt like at times there was like maybe comedy that like was getting lost in translation, maybe, and like I wasn't giving it as much credit as I should be giving it, like not speaking the language. Maybe it was a little bit of a barrier in that regard or something along those lines. So I'm thinking that maybe there might be some comedic beats in this show that like are not translating as well, perhaps. And this, like, there was some funny stuff in here, so I'm hoping that maybe there's a couple of other things that should be chalked up to comedy that maybe we're taken seriously, because yes, this was a funnier moment here where another woman magically appears in the gym. That was nice to see. So Solo woman is no longer Solo, but then also our hero is mesmerized by this girl after they've shared a kiss in the previous episode, and then so he's mesmerized by her, and now it's going on for a long time with mad other people inside of the cage. As he said, they don't need to be there, but he's making it very obvious that he's like it's too much, like it's too on the nose, and so he's really distracted. Bro is acting like pussy is a new discovery, is what I had in my notes.
Yeah, it was pretty funny. I think this was a really funny scene. I don't know if this show has comedy. I'm not gonna lie to you. I think that is a miscalculation. There is nothing that I've seen that has been like, I mean, okay, so like the Surreal Gon and his show, that was the comedy, and you could tell like that was like forcibly unfunny kind of deal, but they
right.
So I don't know. We knew that there was a tone shift in that moment. So like I think it like, because in any other regard, the only funny thing, in my opinion, is that Taylor has no expression to life. Like his mom just got her ass beat, and he's got the same face that he had after he was getting worked over in the gym by the girl. Like, I don't know.
That is a good point. You did bring that up in one of the previous reviews, that like he is not emotive in the slightest. And if there was ever a time for that character to emote, it probably was then. And he really did absolutely none of it. So yeah, I guess, I had kind of praised his physical acting when it came to the fight scene stuff, and I still think that there's some
it gets really good on this episode.
Yeah,
but
there is some good stuff there, but yeah, as far as his actual acting, emotive elements, no, there really is not much. But he does play distracted well, as does everyone else, because everyone did get distracted in this scene, and it was turning into a little bit of like a Three Stooges kind of scenario for a second there. But then, yeah, I do agree with the previous point that you make, though, because I also have in the notes that Shitty Coach is actually coaching a little bit here. So maybe not as shitty as he was once presented.
This next scene that we are about to get into, the first line just makes me remember how crazy of like a curveball this is. I think this scene opens up with them on their phones or something, and he's showing him a video of something. When it came to the things on the phone, I was having a hard time reading the subtitles and or the text. It was too many letters, I was just having a trouble.
Sure.
So anyway, the point comes down to it is that the friend character is juicing.
Bro, he is. So well, one last thing though before we get to this.
Okay, sorry. Okay,
just because I thought that this was really funny was like, and I was debating whether or not I wanted to mention this just because I thought like it could have been the dub, it could have been a translation thing, but it couldn't have been. It's the point after when the coach is like trying to bring our hero back to reality from the whole distraction with the chick. At the very end of it, he goes, "Give me your jab. Go, 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 go." The dude throws one light jab out and he goes, "Good." I don't know.
Actually,
it was just really funny to me.
Actually, no, since you want to bring this up, I think there was another funny part, and then we're going to get into the dosing
yeah,
part.
sure.
So the coach also says 2 sips of water, no more. That was that part. That was really funny.
Yeah, he went 2 sips beyond Valentina Shevchenko.
Exactly, true. But okay, so the next scene opens with them on the phone. He's showing them a video, but then Taylor says something of the sort of like, "Dude, you're going to get in trouble if you keep doing that." And I forget how he reacted to it, but the moral of the story is that the friend character is doing steroids.
Bro is legit juicing right there at the lunch table. The note that I have in the notes is bro is juicing at the lunch table. What the fuck? How has this not been memed into oblivion? How many times? This should be like, this is how you know. We've been talking about this on some of the previous reviews too, where it's like, you don't hear much about this series in MMA circles. If this show was like 2 steps better, just a little bit more quality, then more people might have watched it. And there are so many meme worthy moments. This is absolutely one of them where if any fighter like that, you see him on Instagram all the time where it's just like a text caption over the dude where it would be like, this dude is literally popping roids right at the table. And I could so easily see John Jones, Khalil Roundtree, Sean O'Malley, whoever the fuck is getting popped at the time, like it would be perfect for being memed, but no one watched this show. So it just wasn't.
Yeah, this show was definitely insane. And the reason this is insane too is because he goes from, there was 2 gears that our friend character is on. He's on steroids, cock blocking. He could not fucking stop telling Taylor that he was not gonna get the girl. Dude, she don't even fucking like you. She don't date fighters, dude. You just gotta move on. Like she's into different shit, dude. She's on to different shit. Like you would have thought he would have a chance. And then
he did say that he had tried. That was the thing. He was like, I know from experience that solo female fighter is not dating other fighters. It didn't work. He briefly mentioned it, but it was kind of in the course of him saying that that Taylor's not going to be able to get it. So you're right. I also had that in the notes of he's got roid rage and a love triangle. Very bad combination.
Yes. And I think what's also key here is that the show is portraying as if we are not supposed to know Taylor has already kissed the girl. Like Taylor's just sitting there, and like this would be a good moment for the storytelling. Is like Taylor should have like a I know more than you kind of deal expression, or maybe at least an attitude towards us. Like, you don't know what you're talking about. Like I've already, we have a thing kind of deal. You can keep talking, whatever, but like, it's not the truth kind of deal. I said, Buddy's trying to play our hero for a fool. And I said, Buddy's already had her. So doesn't even matter what you're talking about here. It was really annoying. But then, okay, go ahead. Yeah,
well, because what I would counter to that is that he does. We'll talk about it in a little bit when he's actually with her, like when he walks her to her car or whatever. He does kind of like speak to the conversation and say, "Oh, I guess it might have been like a one-off because my buddy friend kind of set me straight," and she was like, "No, it's not that way with you." So like, I mean, I guess maybe like him tipping the hand, like there is a justification for that not happening in that moment. But yeah, maybe like some kind of nod to the audience might have been appropriate. But it's just tough because like we were saying, the guy does not emote very much. So it's like, is he not emoting on purpose here, or is he just not emoting much period in the show?
It could have been something as simple, and we'll see it later where they actually do this, and it was for a different reason, and I was confused because it was, again, text related, but it could have been something as simple as him just getting a text from her, like, as the dude's shit talking, like, dude, you're never, he shit don't even like you, and it could be a text from her, like, something like that, whatever, I'll see you after, some shit like that.
Well, and also in this conversation, this is one of the ones I was talking about where I kind of mentioned it a little earlier, of saying that the show is starting to tell you, not show you, because in the same conversation, this is when friend bro says that he's proven that Taylor can trust him.
I wrote that. I said, you can trust me. And I said, oh, this is the turning point. He's not going to be able to trust him, of course.
I mean, it couldn't have been more on the nose if they had tried. And also, like, if there had been anything at all in this series that would lead you to believe that he was trustworthy, this would have been justified at that point, but there wasn't. There was nothing that he had done at all anywhere earlier. I mean, maybe you could say that he had his best interests in mind when he tried to stop him from fighting the villain, but that's not exactly like a trust building thing. That's just
he
like
did
more
get
like
by the villain running into the cage. You know?
Yeah, again, I don't really. I mean, okay, maybe I'm being a little too harsh if that's something that you would think is like a trust building element of it, but that to me is just more like, it's like, yeah, I mean, I'm not going to like let you get hit by a car, you know what I mean? But at the same time, that doesn't mean that I won't take like $20 out of your pocket. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's one of those kinds of things. Like it was incongruous, I guess is a way to say it. It's like, they weren't like one-to-one as far as like, this is why you know that he is somebody who you can really trust.
Yeah. And then so he sits down and he gives him the line. He's like, you can trust me. And Taylor, lays it on the line. I need money. That's basically what he says. And then the friend character, because he knows everything and he's just a shitty little guy, he goes, it's for your mom, isn't it? Like, buddy, like, that's a weird line to drop. Like, no, first off, if I did and it was for her, you give me the money, I'll worry about that shit. Like, it was just a weird, like, maybe it's implied like, okay, they're close, they talk about this stuff, but like, we're not being shown that. This is just a weird line for somebody who's never even met the mom in our eyes, kind of deal.
Right, exactly. Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of things happening like off screen or like implied things. That's what it really is. It's implications a lot of time when you have 5 hours essentially. I mean, 5 installments of 45 minutes to actually show us this information. But you're now like, we're having to extrapolate like that. Okay, so he does know about the mom situation, but it's like, do we really know that? Or is it just because he's made this comment? How should we interpret that based on the information we have already gotten? This is where the writing is starting to fall apart a little bit.
Yes. And then so after that, the comic relief character walks in, and I hope you took note of the line that he drops when he walks in. It is so iconic. He hits him with what's with the long faces, guys. Like, and it's like, dude, oh my fucking God. Like,
yeah, for sure. Yeah, very, very textbook, classic right there.
Yeah.
I did also like that that friend bro asks funny fat dude. He says, everything. What's going on with KSW, basically? And then funny fat friend has all of the details on KSW's tournament where the winner could win $100,000, and the two of them both sort of look and nod at each other like, you enter it, and he's like, no, you enter it. I was like, what is happening right now?
Yeah, this is actually the moment that I put the note too. I actually talked about it a little bit ago, but this is the point where I said this is a show glorifying mixed martial arts, and instead of making a show where the person gets to the highest level of the sport, the $100,000 tournament, that's the savior for him. I know it's like the storyline that makes sense in the context, but it's like getting to the UFC is not the grand goal in like the director's eyes here. He's like, well, you can just go to tournament, get $100,000. Like, why would you go to the UFC? You could just go tournament, fight 3 times. Like, that's just what I felt like in my mind here.
Yeah, no, for sure. And I also, I can't get over that little like weird interaction that he had with like, again, I don't think that this is what they were actually trying to imply, but the way that it looked, because we don't actually get actual information in this show, we're not actually presented with what we should be taking away. They had this, our hero and the friend have this weird interaction where they're sort of like, you?
Yeah.
No, and we're like, what? We know it's Taylor. Like, obviously this guy's not going to be entering it. What is happening here? It was very strange. But so obviously now the seed is planted that Taylor is going to want to be entering in this tournament. And I did a little bit of research here, and KSW does have one-night tournaments, but as far as I could see, and it's a little bit hard to get all of the information because KSW is a Polish organization, so getting information in English is a little bit difficult at times. But they only had one tournament that I could find, and it was at light heavyweight. So I don't know if maybe this was like kind of taking reality and sort of bending it a little bit, which is what they've been doing a couple of times in the series. So I would assume that that's what it is, but just another little piece of information to keep it within the span and world of MMA that we are, operating in.
Yeah, and then so I don't know if this was the next scene or if they were showing them in the same scene that they were talking about the tournament and they were like watching it on the phone. Maybe it was the fat friend showing it, but they were actually showing a real fight on the phone. I don't know if you caught that.
Yeah.
And I thought, oh, that was a nice, like that's a real fight going on. But then like they're making it seem like this is the opponent. Like this is one of the guys that you're about to fight, but then I don't believe it actually ends up being one of the guys later.
No, yeah. So it's there. I believe I might be misremembering this little detail of it, but I think that the friend shows it on the phone when they're all talking together, and then Taylor is in his room late at night, saying like, "Hey, I need to talk to you, coach." Like, he like messages the coach after he's watching it on his own, and it was the scenario that you were kind of describing there, where it's an actual fight, and it did look like it was implied to be somebody that he could be fighting up against, but if they're already in the tournament that he's watching, then obviously not.
True, that makes sense. Yeah. And then also I had to note, because like, yes, you are right. Taylor goes to his room and he's watching the fights and he starts texting people. And I made the note, and I think it's really funny to note. I said, texting as a real adult does. And I think it's funny to note is like some people will take it as like, yeah, I don't fucking text. Like I would pick up the phone and call coach or whatever. But then I think of it as like, man, it really is just modern day. You just text anybody. Like, I mean, just pop a quick text to coach, like, whatever, or the girl, whatever it is. Like, it's, I don't know. I feel like it's a very modern storytelling, because then in any other case, you could just pick up the phone and call. Like, but
I mean, a for realism on that, because unless you have something very important that needs an actual conversation, do not call me.
Yeah.
But so he ends up going to the gym late night to go meet up with Shitty Coach, and Shitty Coach is up late at the gym already, and he is chatting with Soleiman Cisco, who is a French boxer who won Olympic bronze. So a nice cameo there. Legitimate fighter being represented in the show, even though it really is just like, hi, congratulations on a great career. See you later.
I think this is a funny note because you are making me a fool here. So if you are telling me that this is a real credentialed boxer or something like that, I will give you props for knowing, because I said, meet an old friend, and I said, the scrawniest guy out of all the people in the gym. This is the GOAT. This is your great. I was like, I could have got like a big old muscle guy if this is like, this is TV, like if Floyd Mayweather walks on the screen, you're not like in your brain, it's like, wow, that's a fighter right there. Obviously Floyd, but like, the body type,
right.
I would have thought like, this is the greatest boxer in my gym. I should see a big hulking figure walk in. Brock Lesnar needs to be that motherfucker. But I thought that was really, really funny at the time. But hey, shout out to him. If he's a real Golden Gloves guy, hey,
Olympic bronze and undefeated in his professional career.
Shout out him. Hey, he's a beast for that. Give him that.
Well, so he's only on for a very, very brief time because we have to make way for one of, from an MMA perspective. The note in the notes is in all caps here. Bro wants to enter a KSW tournament with dudes 2 weights up from him. What the fuck?
Wait a minute. Okay. So yes, this is a key, and this is going to come back. I will bring this up many times, but I think there's a conversation here that it leads to that, of course.
Sure, yeah.
And so we start out, now Taylor goes to a second person begging for money. Coach, I need money. And then coach is hitting him with the, actually, I wrote down, why would you want to fight? And I think it's because the coach was making it seem like, why would you want to join this tournament? It's like, well, dude, like, why would you want to? It's like, duh, I want to fucking, I'm a mixed martial artist. I want to earn money. Like, this is the way to do it. Like,
right.
Why are you asking me stupid questions? I said, coach is retarded. Clearly he has a reason. Like, why are you acting like this is just like it is spur of the moment, but it's not like impulsive to the point where it's like, this is just, he's not trying to go skiing. Like, this is in his wheelhouse. This is what he's training for. Coach, back to being stupid. Coach blowing him off, not actually reading the page on his phone, because he's like, no, there's a tournament. And coach is like, no, there's not. And he's like, yes, there is. Look at it. And coach is like, okay, it's 20 pounds over you. And he's like, So I'll fucking do it. I'll fucking do it. Let me. And so this was another part of the story where it gets jumbled in time, because after this moment, you have a stupid coach. He keeps being a smug fuck. I actually, really funny point. I said Planet Fitness coach would probably have more faith in anyone ever than the coach has in Taylor.
Well, and yeah, and the note that I had, because in this conversation that you're talking about here, Taylor says entering the tournament is quote unquote riskier without coach. And my response to that was, I guarantee you that that is not the truth.
Yeah, exactly. The story gets set up. He wants to go compete at this tournament with these dudes that are 20 pounds heavier, and the coach is like, all right, let's finally, the coach is like, all right, let's fucking do it. Like, oh, if you're gonna fucking make me. And then we get into the first part or many part of like a very convoluted timeline, because it would make you believe that he's now bulking. He's bulking because they're
Brother.
telling him you got to eat, you got to finish all the food. They're showing him dumping the rice and he's stuffing his face, so you would believe he's going to be at the weight class that the tournament is at. Just keep that in mind.
Right. So yeah, no, absolutely. And this is again where we're starting to get into questionable MMA territory. Like, I mean, we've been talking about the show basically in two different spheres. Like in one terms, it's a show, it's a TV show. You're talking about narrative and traditional structuring when it comes to an entertainment product, but you're also talking about it from the MMA perspective, which obviously we have, a deeper understanding of as well. So I said the note for this was that I thought that, to be fair, shitty coach was actually not so shitty with his game planning, because it's a tough position to be in as a coach going along with this absolutely horrible idea.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, I agree with you. I actually wanted to make one more note and then I will let you continue.
Yeah.
Remember that this is all in a 1 month timeline. So when the montage started and he's talking about stuffing his face and eating, and I'm thinking 20 pounds in 1 month, not even possible. Literally
Insane.
science. Yeah.
Yeah, no, I mean, insane to think that that would be that he would land anywhere near 20 pounds if even if he was bulking every day and doing as intensive a training as he is shown to be doing. But the idea that the coach said was that you bulk up as much as you can, and you as the smaller guy be faster than the bigger guys. That all does track theoretically, but our hero still kind of sucks as a fighter. So this is still an absolutely horrible idea.
I think it's really funny that you make the note, because throughout the entire series and throughout of all the sequences that we see in training, Taylor is not good against people his own size, let alone but actually, I would say let alone people bigger than him. But that's the funny part of the story, is that every person that's been bigger than him, he magically is better than, but he can't compete with anybody. He couldn't even compete with the girl. Like, I don't know.
Right. Yeah. It's again, the show is very selective about when and how things happen and why they're happening. So it's like at times this dude looks like a god. He's looking like a beast. At times he is looking like the worst fighter that you've ever seen. More times, I would say, than looking good. So it's like, yeah, we've been presented with a whole bunch of conflicting information that just selectively comes up and goes away.
And that's what makes the show very difficult as a watch, because yes, you want to have unexpected twists and turns, but if you have to only have the twists and turns be based around the failing of the setup of the character, like, okay, if him losing the big fight, like, is all just because we wanted him to, like, he wins when we wanted to, he loses when we wanted to, it doesn't actually have any weight to the character. There's nothing being set up that we can, like, actually, when it gets to that moment, we can have a thought like, oh, he's gonna do that, but then he just does something completely out of character, and it just works, and it's really weird.
So there's a movie that I love a lot. It's called American Psycho. I don't know if you're familiar with this film. It's very, I think a lot of people know about it.
Good crunches.
Yeah, most definitely. But so in that movie, there is a couple of scenes where it's the main character, Patrick Bateman, and there's a detective played by Willem Dafoe, right? And the director of the movie specifically had Willem Dafoe portray his character during like a conversation where he's trying to get information out of Patrick Bateman. The director specifically had Dafoe portray that character three different ways. One where he thought that Bateman was guilty, one where he thought that he was innocent, and one where he was unsure about what the reality was. And then those takes were taken and cut up strategically and used for dramatic effect. So you kind of always did not, like, kept you off your basis as to like how this character actually thought about Patrick Bateman, right? This show is basically doing that, except there's no rhyme or reason to when these different versions are being shown to us, and that I think is the problem.
Yeah, I'm trying to give another correlation to a movie that like. So if you think of like Shutter Island, everything is like very purposely done. There's things missing in the movie for very good reasons. It's like in a show like this, it's like the things would just be missing because they just forgot. Like, you know.
Yeah, it's like plot holes as opposed to intentionality.
Exactly. Yes.
Right.
Yeah.
So and to the same point, and you mentioned it just before here, I'm glad that you said that this is there's a month window as to when all of this can happen, because as we're seeing a couple of like training montages here, and he's like doing all of this intense training and theoretically bulking up, bro has not gotten an ounce bigger.
Yeah, I know. It is very crazy. I actually liked this montage. I wanted to say training montage came, flipping tires, shadow boxing, doing shadow boxes in a national park. That is where the elevation comes, because the moment after I wrote Rocky era, he's in it. He's in the Rocky. He's doing the pull-ups. He's got the sweat glistening. He's got the weight vest, whatever you want to say. He's in that. And then he's doing the little elliptical at the end. And I don't know if you noticed, but the little training coach, he was wearing a UFC jacket. I don't know. Maybe that was just one of that dude's favorite jackets to wear. But like, I don't know. I thought that was weird to point out. Just why has he got a UFC jacket on? Like,
it could have cornered somebody, whatever.
Yeah, true. Oh, I actually say the in cage training here, very decent.
I've been like pretty okay with most of what we've seen in that regard.
It gets even better actually when we get to the next training scene, 2 scenes after this. But this one right here, I said the training very decent compared to what we see later. Like this is good.
Yeah. No, I was okay with all of that kind of stuff. Yeah. No problems there. But so we're now getting to, after this training session scene, or the montage of him training. Now it's time to exit the gym, and love interest lady is leaving with everybody and asks if our hero wants to walk her to her car.
Yeah, this scene is very funny because if you think of all the reasons why you wouldn't date a man, she basically said all of them in one scene. She's like, I don't date fighters because they're aggressive, they're rude, they're pieces of shit, they lie, they cheat, they steal. She basically just went down a whole laundry list of reasons. She's like, nah, but you're different. And then it was like, okay, I mean, I don't see what he's done different than anybody else in the fucking gym, but whatever.
This is the other major time where show me, don't tell me is really applicable to like what can fix this series, because this is a tell me, don't show me if I've ever seen one in my life. Like, she says, oh, it's different with you. Why? For what reason? They have had literally 2 interactions before his fight, before the fight that went to the split draw. The strength of his lucky knockout and a split draw is dropping panties in and of itself with this lady. It makes no sense whatsoever. Like, what, he doesn't emote, so there's not even any kind of personality thing that would give you the impression that he would win her over with that.
We don't see them ever hang out. We don't ever see them communicate. The only time we've seen it is after the biggest moment of his life. And I even said it at the beginning. I'm like, here she goes. After brother fucking gets the knockout of the century, now you want to act like you fucking like him. And then we're fucking 2 weeks down the road, a month down the road. You haven't fucking seen him in 2 months, but you want to run up to him and ask him if he was going to walk to the car for you. It's like, are you guys a thing? I mean, whatever. I don't know. This is a weird one.
Yeah, for sure. But so that all happens. They pretty much, go ahead.
Oh yeah. I actually had one note. I said, this is the moment where I said, I fear the girlfriend is going to get hit by the sharks next, which the loan sharks is what I was calling them throughout not the mob, the loan
Sure.
sharks.
Yeah. Understood. Yeah. I mean that there could be a setup for that for sure. Obviously, we know that there's going to be some tension with his friend with all of this. That we'll get to that in a little bit as well. So yeah, there's a couple of different directions that it could go. And now, it's a funny point that you say that, because it's like, now that we know how cliche and on the nose a lot of this show is, it's like you can start trying to set up your own narratives because of that. You know what I mean? Like, it's like, is it going to be this thing? Is it going to be this? There's like a set number of things in your mind would be like the cliche thing to happen. So you sort of now are going through like what's going to be the next cliche in the list that we've seen,
Yeah, and then so that was the end of the girlfriend talk. That I mean, and that's actually so when I said I fear she'll get hit by the sharks, I actually think it's a great point. Is because maybe we don't know. Maybe they've just been hanging around on the town, where people can see them and people know that they're together. Because from our point of view, maybe that's not even a logical thing to think, because they only get seen together at the gym, walking out the gym, at the fights. It's like nobody would even know they're together. I don't know. Maybe that's the point.
Mom is such a soft target that, maybe they just have their sights set on her and that's all that they need. We'll
True.
see how this grand narrative progresses. But going into the next scene here, we get the return of podcast legend Ciryl Gane showing up with his pal Abdul. Did I miss something?
No, you didn't miss anything. I think you underrepresented how funny this scene was.
Oh,
so the
yeah.
scene, so the scene starts with training, right? We're in the thing training, and I typed, finally, coach is locked in. Finally, we're getting it. He's locked in again. And then he goes, and stop. And I'm like, oh, what the fuck? And then
yeah.
And then he's like, I got a surprise for you. I got an old friend. And in my mind, whoever this could be, why have you not once done anything related to this? Like, now, after Taylor has done everything in his power to make him look important to you, now out of all times, you're like, all right, I got somebody that I've kind of known somebody.
That is a good point. Yeah, because like he didn't, the coach didn't say anything about Ciryl Gane when Taylor told him he was going to be on the podcast with him.
Yeah,
like, oh, okay, cool.
Yeah, and then so this is another one. It's like, what has been happening behind the scenes that Ciryl Gane is now he's just chummy with the coach. Yeah, I'll come train with Taylor. Yeah, dude, he was on my show. Yeah, fire. Oh, come on. So that was definitely very weird. And I wanted to note also, 20 pounds heavier matchup coming. Now it's time to face a heavyweight in training. That's perfect. Yep, it sounds good. I think it makes sense.
Sure. Well, I mean, this is just amongst the many, many funny things with Ciryl Gane in this scene, because Ciryl is coaching Taylor and saying that he needs to mix in unpredictability, right? This is the beginning of their part of training together. And coach says to Ciryl, tell him about your fight with Francis Ngannou. And Ciryl says, Francis can put you down with one punch. He hits you with that, it's all over. Would this not have been a good time to tie into the unpredictability thread by saying that striker Francis Ngannou wrestled that entire fight? Basically, this happens 2 times. It happens with Francis Ngannou talk, and then also they bring up Tai Tuivasa's fight with Ciryl Gane. And both times, what they say about the fights does not properly tie into what's actually happening in the show.
I thought the Tai Tuivasa one was really good. I would like to know Ciryl teaching the striking offense in the show. That was really fun. I was like, oh, like that's a cool moment. Like, whatever. This was definitely later. I don't know if it was a transition to leg lock. I don't think this was something Ciryl taught him, but I have it in the notes.
That was the Abdul, his training partner.
I know he did it later, but I don't know why I have it stuck right in the middle of this, because Ciryl cracks him. Like, he does a little playful punch, knocks him, and then he's like, you got to keep your hand, you always get the strike that hits you. It may not be the one that you're expecting, something like that. And then the coach is like, yeah, tell him what Tai Tuivasa did to you. And then like Ciryl stops for a second. And like, that was like a funny, yes, that was like a funny moment right there. So yes. And then we get into the grappling training. And we got jumping the ghillie. We jumping the ghillie and leg locks, guys. We are doing really fucking good work here.
The note that I have for that is just, it says, teaching this dude to jump ghillie, bro is going to die.
Yes, exactly. Going for heel hooks and jumping the ghillie is pretty fucking funny. But I want to know episode 3. If you're listening right now, episode 3 is very good instructional interpretation of what these grappling sequences could look like when you're training. The camera is wide, you get to see them both, and they're rolling and they're doing sequences like, okay, so there's one where Abdul, he's like, okay, so you're gonna roll, you're gonna grab the leg, heel hook, and he's like, all right, now do it to me. And then they switch, and then Taylor does it and I was like, that was a good, these are good full screen moments. Like you could chop any other action movie is just chopped up and you got to chop and cut between cuts and make sure that it fits together. This right here is two people who know how to do a grappling sequence, which this is where I want to give Taylor the props. This is the episode where I saw this is probably why they picked him, because he can actually look decent on camera enough, and he can make it look visible. Like I mean, grappling sequences, I mean, you got to know what you're looking at. You got to have a very, special tuned eye to see the intricacies of what's going on, but they did a very good job of showing it in a simplistic way. I think that was really great right here. I think that was awesome.
Yeah, I agree. I think the main actor is very he's adaptable to these situations and does a good job of replicating the motions that he's being shown as a student would. So I do, I definitely give some credit for that as well. Really, when it comes to the actual MMA elements of the show, at least when it comes to the training, I really haven't had too many negative things to say. I think that it's a pretty good representation of training in that regard. But there were a couple of funny moments here with the rest of the training before we get into which we're going to be leading up to the tournament here. The two other things that I have is that this might have been a translation thing with the dub, but the coach at one point just says, when you go over to Poland, you're going to get hit for sure. And I'm thinking to myself, it's a 3-fight tournament. Like, yeah, duh, bro. He's going to get hit. Like, I don't know. It was just like in context, it was very funny for him to just be, again, on the nose with that kind of thing. And then the other thing was talking about the Tai Tuivasa fight. Cyril is teaching Taylor the art of stalling in a fight because of the Tai Tuivasa fight, ? He got rocked, Cyril Gane, in that fight by Tai, but he recovered pretty quickly. So again, it's just they're not making sense to what he's like using his fights as examples for. Like the Francis Ngannou fight, where like he's talking about unpredictability. He didn't say anything about Francis being unpredictable and what he actually did in that fight. And then in here, he's saying that he didn't have to stall very much at all in the Tai Tuivasa fight. So just weird for them to be like, yeah, like we're showing you that we know ball by saying that, like, yeah, we're bringing up actual fights that Cyril Gane had, but we're not doing it in the proper context to make it make sense.
Yeah, I did. I actually want to note also in that training sequence, it was funny where Cyril Gane, he's like, okay, there's two things, you're either in or you're out. And I was like, brother, you're always out. Like, how do you know anything about you have never stepped inside the pocket, I don't think. Like, what in the world? Who are you trying to teach this to? But it was very funny.
Yeah. But so all of that leads up to tournament time, and bro is still the exact same size.
Oh my gosh. So yes, it's tournament time is exactly what I said. We're in Warsaw, Poland. We're backstage training, and the friend is getting jealous. I don't know what is happening in this scene because it's something on the phone. I don't know who he was texting or what he was showing Taylor. The coach caught on, but it wasn't really explained to the audience what was happening. Taylor like shrugged it off, and then the friend hit him with the, "Oh, we're just joking, coach. Like but aren't these supposed to be pals? Like, I don't. Why is he just all of a sudden an asshole?"
I think you're jumping a little ahead with the we're just joking part, but the part that you're talking about here, when he, I forget exactly why he was like what the phone situation was, but they're all getting ready. He's getting his hands wrapped, and he, like, our hero gives the phone to the friend, or the friend, I guess probably because he has his hands wrapped or whatever. Maybe he's getting a lot of text. I think that's what it was. He was getting a lot of text messages. Friend is going to check the phone for him, but our hero just casually throws out his phone's code to the entire room. You want to talk about an F for realism, bro? I guard my phone's code with my life. I mean, this is like, have you never had a chick before in your life? Like, you're just letting the code just go out to all your homeboys? Like, very weird. And I even had a note at the time, I was writing it in real time. I'm like, how is this going to come back?
Mm-hmm. I that might be a little, I didn't think too much about that. I mean, I didn't actually catch it at the time, but now that you bring it up, Honestly, I throw my shit out all the time. I always have my phone with me though. Like I understand in the situation like this where you're leaving your phone places and you got to go
There,
do stuff. Like that
all
would
I
probably
know,
not be it.
I would not be like maybe okay, maybe just different people with different feelings about their privacy. But like for me, like there's no way that I would just be like casually throwing out my phone's code to the entire room for any
Yeah,
room that I'm in.
true.
But then I'm glad that you mentioned this too because you said that coach catches on to it. I am very sick and tired of the coaches like what's the way to describe it? The coach, the same way that Taylor doesn't emote very much, the coach has one reaction that he always does. It's always that like I'm on to you.
Yeah,
You know what I
yeah.
mean? He's always doing that little like I'm hearing what's going on over here. I'm staying silent, but I'm picking it all up. And I'm just like, bro, how many times can we see this face from this guy in this show? Because it's happened a bunch of times.
Yes, absolutely. And then so whatever happens on the phone, Taylor's not really worried about it. He shakes it off and he's focused. And then we go and the first fight is about to start. Is there anything else you want to have to note before we get into the
Um,
first fight?
Well, just that in the commentary leading up to that fight starting, we get a
Taylor
casual.
Lapillus.
When we get Taylor Lapillus, Taylor's back. Taylor Lapillus is just he commentates for everything in this
Yeah,
universe. This guy is
facts.
everywhere, every fight. Taylor Lapillus is the man. But I just loved that. I just have big capital letters. What casual mention that the big bad villain Ibrahim is expelled from KSW. They hit my dude Ibrahim with the MMA version of an off-screen death.
I did not catch that at all. Oh my gosh.
I'm not surprised that you didn't catch it because it was so quick for a person that was so integral to the story for 2 episodes. They shipped this dude off for a death off screen.
I can't imagine that's actually what's going to happen. I
I'm
think
sure not, but just the
no,
fact that they like tossed it out there, like if you were blinking, you miss it.
not in the well that yes, but like not an on-screen death at least. I mean, he did have that situation at the end of KSW at the end of the episode, so that would
Right.
be valid if something there was repercussions to that. Now, that was being a passing comment is very interesting because the one that stuck out to me is that the commentators acknowledged that Taylor is 20 pounds lighter than these guys. And I'm sitting here thinking, okay, how is he in a tournament for a weight class if he's not at the weight class?
I don't care what sanctioning body or what area of the world you're fighting or whatever. There is no promotion that like no professional promotion that would ever be allowed to have a person who is that undersized fighting that far up. It would never happen. There's no way.
Yeah, it was definitely a weird. This is a weird plot point. It's like again, why didn't you just have him be at the normal weight class? Like, why couldn't everybody just be like? Why does it have to be a he's Rey Mysterio to Mark Henry ass story? Like, I don't get that. Like, in fighting, underdogs happen all the time, and it's not just because one's smaller than the other. I mean, you can make the situation have an underdog. Like, I mean, I don't know. It's weird to me. This is a weird one.
It's yet another example, and I actually have the next one queued up right here. But it's yet another example of this show trying to have a basis in reality, but then also going very, very far outside of reality at the same time. And it's just starting to get, especially by episode 3. It's like episode 1, you're kind of invested. Episode 2, it's starting to get a little bit nebulous, but you're still with it. But at this point, we're starting to get a little off the rails with the realism because of things like this.
I don't know if you ever played Saints Row.
No, but I'm familiar with the game.
Saints Row, it's like a spin. It's not a spin-off, but it's a very generic off-brand of GTA, or at least was at one time.
Yeah.
And then further on down the line, you get aliens, and then you get superpowers, and it's like you're deviating too far away from what you're supposed to be seeing here. And when you describe this, all I can think about is like this is still tame compared to what Zack Snyder is going to give us. Compared, like in terms of like being so hyper out there compared to what we see in realism. Like take realism and then just exaggerate it to the tenfold, whatever you want to say. I think this is still in terms tame compared to what it could be, but this is still just out of left field for everything happening. It's so wild.
Well, and you can't like I mean we've praised the show in past episodes for like for bringing non-fight people into the fight world in certain aspects, explaining certain things in ways and this and that. Things like this, like maybe non-fight people might like gloss over this, but any person, I think that, I mean, it would be very, very strange for anybody to think that this would be okay, in my opinion. I mean, this
I
amount of weight discrepancy is just too much.
I think it is key too. Is like they should have because like the casual viewer, when I talk to people at work and I'm explaining things about MMA and things like that, and it gets down to the weight cutting, it's like they don't really understand. Like these dudes are actually cutting weight to make the weight class. It's not like they just show up and it's like whatever weight they are, that's where they compete. It's like no, there's a whole science to the thing. So if you take that, I mean, they did a great job of explaining a lot of it in last episode with the weight cutting and the dehydration and anything like that. So the fact that they're not doing that this time, it's leaving the audience to just believe big people can just fight small people. Like I don't know, it's just a weird element and a small detail that I think could have just fixed a lot of this.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, there are very small, easy fixes that could have made a lot of this better, I think is definitely accurate.
Yeah.
But so one note going into the first fight here is that he is fighting a fighter named Alexander Volkov, but it's not Alexander Volkov.
What in the world? I missed a lot of these good moments. I did not know that his name was Volkov. The only thing that I noticed is that the first fight started in one of those red rooms where you develop film. I don't know why the fight was in this. It was crazy.
Yeah. Yet another time where they're trying to trick the camera with the audience being not visible,
yes.
And the way that everything is kind of shot, trying to make it look like a more grandiose arena than it actually is, because yet again, filmed inside of a shoebox.
Correct.
But just crazy. I don't understand why the show does this. Why does the show continue to do this? Alexander Volkov is a known fighter. This guy is a dude who just happens to have the same name, Alexander Volkov, while our hero Taylor has the same name as Taylor Lopoulos, who is the commentator.
Yeah, this one it is also a weird moment. I'm trying to think of, okay, so you got Taylor in the cage, and I want to believe that the small detail that I'm about to tell you is true, but I can't remember off the fact. But they could have 3 different refs for the 3 fights that we see. And that would be a cool detail if they actually got that right. And I believe they did. So that one was to know. I also want to note the fight started and the opponent points at him. He points him down, which was hilarious for how this fight ends, because the fight starts, opponent runs across the cage, shoots for a takedown, and Taylor flying knee knocks him out. And it was about as insane as you could think, because he's already flash knocked out people before. He's never done it like this. And I will note the visuals on the KO, they were pretty fucking good. I even rewound it. I was like, that's some pretty good CGI. Maybe they just had him take the bump, like, and maybe they just like had him doing a slow motion and then sped it up. Like,
I think that might have actually been it. Yeah. No, I mean, fair enough. I just said that, Taylor hits him with the Masvidal knee for the walk-off KO. Fuck this show. Like, that's such a ridiculous thing to think that would have been how that would have gone. But I mean, we have, it is not like it's never happened before. So I guess I'll be a little lenient with it. But I do say that this is, the writing from a writer's aspect of this. Have you ever seen the meme of the fat dude on the couch with the chips and Doritos all over his shirt? It says, I would have head kicked him and then gone.
Yes.
This is what this is in visual form to me, is that meme come to life.
Yes. So Taylor gets the knockout, kills his opponent, literally kills him. Dude's lifeless. Taylor does a cartwheel backflip. Obviously, he's in a great mood. Then we cut to our fat, funny friend, and he drops the iconic line, clean, cool, and efficient. And it's like, all right, dude. Like, that was,
funny fat guy is the best.
I just can't believe it. But also, I said, because you cut to the back home, people are watching at home this time. They didn't actually go to the arena because the girl wasn't in it. This wasn't like a full camp type of thing. This was just Taylor's side quest. So you got everybody from the camp watching at the house, right? After Taylor gets the flying knee, knocks him out in 12 seconds flat, did him quicker than Connor did probably. And the people back home, they're hype, but they're somehow not as hyped as they should be for the craziest thing that he probably is ever going to do in his career.
I mean, the Flash flying knee knockout is 20,000 times more impressive than the viral video that shot him into fame in the first place.
And nobody gives a shit. And
Yeah.
nobody gives a fuck. In their mind, it's like, well, this is just the first fight of the tournament. Like, you can't get too overzealous. Now, it's like, brother, he could go get a marketing deal right now. Like, he's done the two greatest things of your generation right now. Apparently, I mean, these are world-ending things. But
I mean, literally, Jorge Masvidal is so proud of that accomplishment that he made it into his logo and tattooed it onto his chest.
exactly. So I think it's really, really funny that they somehow don't give as much of a shit as they should. So.
Right. Yeah. So, I mean, again, starting to go a little bit off the rails with some of these plot points, but first fight ends and we're backstage again, and trustworthy friend, bro, goes through our hero's text messages and sees that Solo Chick is texting Taylor. My question was, did she have to be doing this mid-fight? She knew he was fighting. It was a little bit strange that she's sending massive amounts of text messages.
That was also funny because in the scenes that we're seeing of them celebrating, she's texting him like, "Great fight, like you're doing great." It's like, girl, you're looking at him on the screen. You know that he's not texting right now. So yeah,
Right.
it was a little funny, but that's probably something that I would do. Like, I don't know. I'd probably if I had the Rock's number and he was performing, I'd probably tell him like, "Man, that's a good performance you're out there doing."
Yeah, it's a good point. I mean, I do have a couple of friends who are active on the roster. Maybe I'll have to start,
Well,
blowing up their phone while they're mid-fight.
Well, not even just that, but it's like in the moment, like that's a moment. It's like I send it to you at the exact time it happens. You'll know for fact that I was watching it. I didn't text you after and be like,
All
"Hey, that
right.
was a good
Okay.
performance."
Yeah, fair enough. Maybe I'm being a little hypercritical on
No, but
that
I get
aspect
your
of it.
point. I was definitely thinking the same thing. Like, why is she texting right now? Like, I was thinking, I was like, she's texting someone else. Like, that's what I was interpreting it as. It's like, oh, she's while Taylor's out here doing his cartwheel backflips, everybody's celebrating. She's texting another dude. Like, that's what it played to me. Is because I'm not reading the fucking text. I actually made a point to say right here in this scene because I said the friend is being weird, awkward silence. I don't know what's going on. I can't read. And that was when they were showing the text or whatever.
Right.
And that was just a really weird scene right there.
Well, yeah. So that's the point that you kind of referenced earlier, where the friend is like, "Oh, no, we're just joking, coach." But I mean, it was, yeah. He's essentially getting pissy at our hero because Taylor is involved with this girl when he wanted to be involved with her, and he's picking this time to make this an issue. And Taylor even calls him on it and says, "Hey, you going to start with this jealousy bullshit while I'm in the middle of like the most important time of my life here?" It was a little bit uncalled for, but yeah, they decided to throw that in there. And I give shitty coach a little bit of credit for just shutting it all down, being like, "All right, knock this shit off. We got a bigger fish to fry right now than whatever the hell you're talking about here." So
Yeah.
fair enough there. But round two starts, or is going to start. And
Whoa. Round two.
Or round two of the tournament, rather.
Okay,
The second fight. Sorry. Yeah.
Well, so actually, I would like to point. So they go back to training, and he's working hard on some takedowns, and on some takedown defense and some sprawls in his little pre-fight warm-up thing. Then before the fight starts, you hear in the commentary that our opponent is Chechnyan, right? Right? He's Chechnyan, and not to mention he trained with Hamzat.
Well, round two of this tournament, our hero has to become the Dagestani killer over here because dude trains with Khabib and Hamzat.
Yes.
Again, how on the nose can you make this shit? It's like, it wasn't enough that he trains with Khabib. No, we have to bring Hamzat into the equation too. So this dude is doubly killered up.
Yeah, and then I wrote, "I've got you, coach." I feel like maybe that's something he said stupidly and probably should regret saying, Mr. Taylor, that is.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, yeah, sorry, "I've got you, coach." And then I said, "The biggest regret ever is coming," after he said that. Yeah. And then we get into the fight. Glove touch, nice little glove touch. Fight starts. We get a meaty overhand from our Khabib clone. He's popping up our hero. Taylor is getting popped up. He's throwing soft combos. That same 1-2 leg kick thing that he throws the entire tournament. Then the commentators say, "I guess he's not just a wrestler after all." as soon as he gets a takedown. That was hilarious. That was really
Yeah.
funny. And then the coach goes, "Get up, Taylor. Get up, Taylor." Like he's doing the David Goggins. Like, "Come on, Tony. Get up, Tony."
Well, yeah. So I had the note that I had for that was that coach is literally seated away from the apron during the fight, and he's not cornering. So I looked this up again. I'm interested in KSW. I mean, they've been represented in this show. They're a known entity in the sport, so I've seen a little bit of KSW footage, but I am not super well versed in the promotion at large. So I looked this up. KSW does have corners in designated areas away from the ring platform is what it says in their rules, but they are permitted to assist the fighter during the fight. So shouldn't he be screaming advice at him? This coach is doing exactly what you were saying. He's kind of like whispering to himself, like as if he's talking to Taylor. He's doing, "Come on, man, you got to be doing this." It's like, you should be cornering him.
Yeah, exactly. So this fight is pretty bad. Commentator, not just a wrestler after all. Coach is saying, "Get up." Then I believe it was Taylor who he tried to go for the choke against the cage. Yes, he tried to go for it a couple different times. The opponent gets out of it, is beating Taylor's ass. Another choke attempt by Taylor. Taylor finally gets up. This one was hilarious. He gets thrown against the fence off of his feet, like sideways.
Yeah, they said you got some air on that one.
And then he lands on his feet. It was hilarious because it didn't go to the ground after somebody got literally tossed around like a baby against the cage. That was hilarious.
Oh yeah.
And that was the end of the round. That was the end. Okay, clear 1-0. Clear 1-0 for our opponent here.
Sure.
So round 2 starting. 1-0 is what I have here.
Well, before that happens,
okay, go ahead.
So in between rounds, again with the quote unquote trustworthy friend guy, he comes in and starts sowing the seeds of doubt in Taylor's mind between rounds, where he was like, so do you not think that you can like hang with this guy? Like he starts doing some stuff like that, where it's like, bro, like you're supposed to be helping him right now. And like, obviously he's pissed off. So he's starting to like be a little bit of an asshole, even though it's not like overt. He's being passive aggressive to Taylor. And it's just like, man, all right. More of this shit kind of creeping in. But anyway, I think it's important to note just based on possibly where the narrative is going to go later.
Yeah, absolutely. So round 2 starting, it's 1-0 for the opponent. Taylor is magically cracking him on the feet now, doing a lot better, which is insane. And then it gets to the ground. Taylor is on top, and the opponent goes for a Kimura. The round ends. It was a quick round. It was the quickest round that we've had in probably all of the show, and that's saying a lot considering the fights themselves are like 1 minute tops. So that was interesting. So 1-1, I guess, because we didn't even get to see anything that happened in the second round. So you would assume that they're portraying it as it's a 1-1 tie going into the third.
Yeah, what I had for that was that this is yet another quote unquote close fight in show terms. The show goes very again on the nose. We say it time and time again, but it's like they go out of their way to contrive instances to make these fights close because and I understand like you'd said, there's only about a minute that they can actually show fight footage, so you have to sort of condense everything and make it presentable so that you're moving the narrative forward. So I get that aspect of it, but from an MMA standpoint, it's like, okay, yeah, round 1 definitely goes to the opponent. Round 2 is going to him. We get a lot of these, and at the end of that third round, it's a head and arm that he ends up in, and he holds that thing for a long time.
Well, yeah, that's the third round. We didn't get into the third round.
Oh, okay, sorry.
Yes.
Yeah.
So at the end of the second round, we find out we don't find out, but Taylor is tired. Taylor is dead tired. He's done. He's having a shit time. And I said, Taylor needs to pull it out the fire. Where's Leon's coach? Where is he at? Okay, so we get into the third round and then immediately goes to the clinch, and Taylor gets an elbow on the break, and it kind of staggers our opponent, whatever, and then hits him with the same combination, the 1-2 leg kick, whatever you want to say. Then gets taken down again. And then I would say Damage wins the round at this moment. This was about halfway through what we were seeing. I'm like, okay, he's bloodied him up with the elbow. I mean, that would be the winning round in what we are seeing. Taylor jumps the fucking Gilly. I think it was Taylor who jumped it because I have the note Gilly exclamation. So it was Taylor who jumped it, I'm sure. Then gets an uppercut. So he must have got up after that, I would assume, if that's how that one happened. Busted him with an uppercut and then knocks him down. So, and then gets another takedown from the opponent. So it's another one of those close matchups. What's going on? And then, yes, here we get to the arm triangle with 10 seconds left.
Yeah, and I mean he holds that arm triangle in perfect position for that entire time. Taylor, if he was not actually out, like I mean, he certainly would have been.
Yeah.
So it is kind of there. I'll say, oh, just hold on, just hang on, and he does end up hanging on. So it's like it was a very long, prolonged instance of him being in this submission position. So it's like, yeah, they make it out to be like very very close fight because of that. And Taylor does end up winning the fight due to the damage, which theoretically that should be how it is. So I guess that was an okay realism element.
Yeah, and I said, 10 seconds left. He's dead. After that round ended, he's dead. He's laying there, unconscious probably. And then I said, close round though. Of course, Taylor will win. Taylor wins. And then I said Taylor win, but is definitely gonna die next fight. And I said that in terms of like he's gassed, he has nothing left. Like there's no way he's gonna go into the next fight with an advantage. Like he's just toast.
So yeah, two things with that real quick is that it was very funny after the submission is finally broken when the arm when the round ends rather. The round ends, he doesn't tap, he everything goes off as it should for him. And then the coach comes over, picks him up, basically like lifts him off the ground because he is so gassed beyond his body's limit. And he says, put your arms up, so show everybody that you won. And Taylor does the puppet arms. They kind of had to like hold up the arms, like, hey, show them that you won.
Yeah, that's hilarious.
So there was that. And then also I thought it was pretty funny pacing wise. We've talked about the pacing in the show, but bam, no suspense building. Taylor wins the fight. Like it wasn't even like, oh man, is it going to happen? Is it good? No, it was just, yep, he won. Not as bad as the first robbery when it came to the split draw, but it was still just another one of those ones where unrealistic as far as like how a real fight probably would have gone down, but better.
Yes, so the fight ends very, very quickly. Taylor wins, raises the hands, and then we get the note that there's 10 minutes till the next fight. And I'm like, all right, 10 minutes, lock in, Taylor, go back there and rest if this is what you want to do. And then the coach is being, once again, a fucking asshole. He wants Taylor to just leave. He tells him, I'm going to get the doctor. We're going to get the doctor out here. You're good, man. We're done. Like, you've proved everything. You're one fight away from $100,000. Give it up. You're good. We got the doc. You're on your way out. And I wrote, shut the fuck up, please. Like, please just shut the fuck up. Like, just stop talking. And then Taylor actually goes on a little rant after he finally grows a pair of fucking balls, which actually he does for a second, and then he retroactively loses them because he's telling him straight to his face, like, since when have you believed in me, coach? Like, this is the moment that you should have all the hope in me in the world. Like, you have never once believed in me. And I said, lock the fuck in, Taylor. I mean, Taylor, lock in. You can win. The doctors are walking in. Taylor's ready to go. Basically tells coach to go fuck himself. Coach is an asshole. Next fight's in 10 minutes. No fight. No fight is what I'm thinking. And then he goes, I'm ready. Like, it was like the craziest, like, whiny little fucking bitch thing. Like, it was. And then what the coach is saying, I think it was the coach. Maybe it was the friend. You don't stand a chance. You never thought I could win. Oh yeah, this is when Taylor is reiterating that he's fucking, and then he finally tells the coach, leave, just leave, which there was the balls grown right there. But then in the next scene, you'll see that meant nothing because the coach is still in his fucking corner, but like, whatever.
Right. Yeah. So shitty coach is back to his, you got to quit shitty ways. What the fuck was the point of having gotten this far just to quit, shitty coach? That was very kind of dumb at that point. Obviously he's locked in. Obviously that he's doing this for a specific reason and he's not going to quit even if it's the right thing to do. It was not the right thing to enter this tournament in the first place. There's a reason he is here. This is a dumb line of a conversation with him and the coach. This is a dumb way of thinking. That this is not going to happen. Coach is still going down this line of accusation here of saying, you don't have it. You should quit. Then untrustable friend actually gives the motivational speech that shitty coach should have been doing his whole career, but never has. Like, shitty friend is actually the one to say, hey, you're not going to quit, right? I mean, like, you come this far. You're not going to be quitting at this point after coach has already been dismissed. So yes, he does grow a bit of a pair by telling the coach to get out of there. As you said, the production assistant or whoever is saying, hey, it's time to fight, are you ready to go? Coach says no fight, he says yes fight, and he does enter the final fight of this tournament.
Yeah, absolutely. So there was a note that I have between this. So when we're on our way to the last fight of the tournament, you get to the comic relief character, and he's like, "Guy's fucking huge!" Like, it was a really funny point where he's talking about his opponent and the size, blah 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 blah. Fight starts. Anything else before the fight starts?
No, that's no.
Because obviously this is a big catalyst in the story here. So I'm really excited to get into this.
We're going to end with yet another plot twist to carry us into episode 4. So go ahead.
So the fight starts, and of course Taylor is already losing. This is what he does in every single fight. He walks in and just gets pieced up and has nothing for it. He shoots a takedown and gets thrown to the ground. That he just gets thrown on the ground. And then the opponent starts kicking him in the legs, which this was a very funny moment because in MMA, we watch every weekend and we always question, why are they kicking them in the legs when they're in their guard? Just back up and tell them to get up.
Right.
Very funny moment here where you see the moment where he backs up and tells him to get up. Yes, but you also kind of get a sense of like, man, that did kind of hurt. Like, he was kicking Taylor, and like you see Taylor's face, he's like, like it was like okay, maybe that is like a decent tactic, but whatever.
Or when you're 20 pounds bigger.
Yes, exactly. So he eventually he backs off, tells him to get the fuck up. Taylor lands a nice uppercut, back to the same 1-2 leg kick combination. And then I'll let you carry into go ahead and talk about your half of the round and then carry into the end of it.
Yeah, so I mean, he's getting worked over by his opponent as expected. Also, another thing to note is that the coach had mentioned that the opponent had finished both of his fights in this tournament within the distance. So, I mean, this guy is out here finishing people. It's quite obvious that Taylor is outmatched by this guy. Then somehow Taylor gets the world's biggest second wind. He's going out there and I mean, you got to remember too, like, this dude again has steamrolled through his opponents. Taylor is on death's door by having just been almost submitted. He's completely gassed out, even with the time in between where he's talking a whole lot to his coach and having to have all of this negative interactions and stuff. Probably not even in the best headspace in that regard. Whatever. Somehow, some way, comes back with this crazy flurry of energy and just starts getting these shots left and right. And you get that moment where it's like, man, he really might do this thing. He really might pull it off. But snap back to reality, Eminem style. Huge elbow, knocks Taylor out cold. POV knockout drop was pretty funny.
Dude, the knockout. So yes, it is so funny that we are sitting here thinking like, oh my God, here's another time where Taylor's just going to magically win. And shout out to the directors. If this is a story that we are going to have to follow, you subverted my expectations for sure, because with Taylor getting elbowed, falling to the mat, and getting an extra strike thrown in on top of his lifeless body,
oh my
where
God,
you see the blood spurt up.
It was that shout out to Realism for that one, because it was, I mean, not Realism, I guess. Strike that. Not shout out to Realism. Shout out to them for showing the brutality of that one, because it was the most direct shot. His head bounces off the mat and then goes back to it, and then the shot comes straight down the pipe, right to the nose. It looked like a Mortal Kombat fatality.
Yeah, I would like to say again, reiterate that these close-up knockout moments were really well filmed, and they looked more. I watch it every weekend, and what I see didn't look as traumatizing as what I kind of witnessed on those two kind of flash knockouts. Like the knee to the head, like you see his head snap back a little bit, and then he's like on the ground. And then this one, you see the elbow, and then his eyes are rolled back in his head, his mouth is wide open, and then you get the extra smash on the face. And then basically in my notes, I said, yeah, he got fucked. Oh, actually, okay. I said, wow, gets knocked out, and late strike after. Holy shit, he got fucked up.
Yeah.
Like,
And what I wanted to say too, what I think that I was trying to get at right before is that it's an appropriate level of hyper realism, and that
yes.
I do appreciate that to an extent, because like you're saying, it doesn't look, it's not like what you would see in an actual fight, of course, but it's elevated because it is a
Well,
fictional show,
I
you know?
mean, compare it literally to the Roadhouse remake where you watch Jake Gyllenhaal like doing the most unrealistic shit in a UFC arena, you know,
Right.
like that was they could have had something like that. Like imagine if that's what we saw and it was taking place in the UFC arena for Roadhouse or whatever and it wasn't some goofy late stoppage like, you know, like shit like that. Like this was actually I felt it. Like I was like, damn, that late strike really fucking put him in the coffin. And then yeah, so Taylor is dead at this point.
Oh yeah, he's like dead.
Yeah. This is probably I even said this at the moment. This was probably the worst a knockout has been. Like, I mean, if this is how close to death he is, I mean, this is probably as close as it's been for a lot, like, not a lot of people, but there's some cases where they're out for, you know, close to some minutes or whatever it is. But this one right here, they got the oxygen mask coming in. They're about to stretcher him away. You know, I'm surprised the airlift didn't fucking pull him out. Like, that's
Yeah,
crazy.
exactly. I mean, and that is how we end the episode, is with Taylor like dead on his back. Bro is on oxygen, and then it cuts to black. So, like you had said there, Chase, a subversion of expectations to an extent. If you didn't think that he was, or if you did think that he was going to win the fight, but then, I think it was a little bit more unpredictable that it was going to be this devastating for our hero of this show. So, yeah, we're gonna have to see how episode 4 picks up, what condition he's going to be in, and there very well could be a choppering. Who knows?
Well, and so like the commentators as it's happening, they're explaining, they're like, this is the reality of the sport. Like this is the dark side of what can happen in mixed martial arts. Like your whole life can be changed in one moment type of deal. So I'm wondering going forward, knowing that this is the cliffhanger, knowing that other cliffhangers don't necessarily pick up the way that we have thought they would before. I'm not sure what is next, considering there's only 2 episodes left, right?
Correct. Yes.
So is Taylor going to be a vegetable? Is Taylor going to be up and fine the next episode? Is where's the 40 grand going to come from now? Like there's a lot going into it, but like or you know, or is something goofy going to happen where he's going to like wake up in the hospital and his mom's going to be like the mob forgave us for you, you know, they came in here and they saw your performance and they loved you. Like they watched you on Saturday night. They were like, wow, we couldn't hurt his mom. Like who knows what's about to happen.
Right. Yeah. Now the mob thinks that they can actually win money on you winning fights.
Exactly,
But yeah,
exactly.
no. So I mean, I was going to ask you your overall perception of the episode. I guess I'll start with mine because you're leading into it really
Yes.
nicely. So what I'm seeing in this show, and you're kind of laying it out there, is that like it has beats that will keep you invested enough based on the way that they're twisting and turning the plot. It's just that there are pieces of the narrative that don't all add up to a cohesive story. So like you have to sort of like want to go along for the ride, I would say. Like
Hmm.
that's really what I've gotten to with this show. It's like there are going to be things in here that are not going to make sense. There are going to be things in here that are unrealistic. There are going to be things that are hyper realistic. There are going to be things that cross back and forth depending on what the plot needs at any given time. If you are okay with going along with the story as it's being presented to you, there is entertainment to be had. It's still, even with this episode, which I do think that, in my opinion, this was the weakest episode that we've watched so far as like narratively.
Well,
I say just from a narrative perspective, I think it's starting to go in a direction that I was starting to lose a little bit of my like stick being able to go along with it. Like, my suspension of disbelief was getting a little bit tested in this episode. But that all
mhm.
being said, if you can push past that and just stick with it and enjoy what you are getting, it's not the worst thing that I have ever seen.
I would go ahead and disagree with you. This show here is by far one of the more brutal watches that I've had. Like, no, like if I didn't have to sit here and watch it, it would be like, I mean, I do enjoy watching it because I want to talk about it, but
Sure.
like it's really hard to sit there and like be invested in it and be like, man, this is a great show. Like, did you see what happened on the cage last week? You know, shit like that. Like I can't do that because it's just it's a really hard investment. Like there's just no payoffs to what you're watching, so there's no fulfillment. I don't know. It just feels like things are happening on the screen, and taking notes makes it a little easier because like I can kind of just pick up what's going on, and then I can look down, and like the dubs don't really mess with me too much with the notes taken. But I'm not. There haven't been moments where I like have been captivated by what I'm seeing, where it's like,
Right.
okay, notes. Hold on, let me wait to take a note. Let me finish watching the scene. You know, like there's nothing like that.
Yeah. Yeah. No,
No
I
emotion is being drawn from me.
sure. I can see that aspect of it. Yeah. I mean, because it's just there's a lot of like it's like if you laid out all of like the elements of storytelling, it's like they have all of those on a table and then they just sort of bunched them all up together. You know what I mean? Like it's like
Instead of folding the papers together,
correct.
they crumble them. Yeah.
Exactly. You've got all your pieces laid out nicely, and instead of stacking them in a stack, they just,
Yeah.
just kind of draw them all together and sort of jumbled them. So I could see it from that aspect of it. I guess I'm a little bit like I'll give it a little bit more leeway just because I like seeing MMA in this version and form. So, I was actually talking to somebody online about this show, and I did say that like for all of the narrative flaws that you can pull out of it, I do think it's a like not an unpositive representation of MMA. Like I haven't seen anything in there where I'm like, well, that's complete bullshit. I mean, like there are a couple of things that we can dig deep and nitpick about, but like overall, for a surface level examination of like the culture of MMA and like the basic beats of what you would see in tournament style fighting, and or not even just that, but just fighting in general in like an organized setting. I don't think it's that terrible. So I'm trying to be as like give it as much rope as I can, and it's certainly taking all of that rope and hanging itself with it.
Yeah, I hear you. I think it's also a sport where visually depicting it's very hard to make it seem like not like I'm trying to think. So like when you watch the show, you get the feel. It's like being a fighter fucking sucks. And like I don't think there's a depiction that you can make it where it's like rainbows and sunshines for a fighter because I mean in general it's not just shooting hoops or it's not just throwing something through a net. It's like you actually have to fight people to get better. That is like the goal is to fight people. It's like it's a hard life to live mentally, I would assume, you know?
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. And so for that aspect of it, I guess there is an element that is well presented. So
Yeah.
at least you can take a couple of things away from it as somewhat positive, but it does have its times where it's like, yeah, this is definitely something that we're doing it for a purpose, so you're going to stick with it, but it might, I could see why people who are not reviewing it on YouTube would be able to drop off from it after a
I,
couple episodes.
I think what's also interesting to note, and I would be curious to hear like what somebody who's from France or like somebody who can actually view the original form of the media, because I don't necessarily feel like there's too much cultural impact there. Like yes, they're in France, yes they go to Poland, yes they go talk with Cyril Gahn, but like nothing. I'm not seeing like cultural influence in the show, which I kind of feel like when I'm watching it, like it feels like I'm supposed to be like I'm trying to think. I'm seeing things that are kind of normal, but like I felt like if it's somewhere else, like I feel I was supposed to be. I don't know. I thought there was going to be a little different element to it. It
Well, I
just
mean,
feels.
but I mean, from the other side of that, maybe it's going to show that, all of these, when it comes to the fight game, all of these places are somewhat in the same boat. You know what I mean?
True.
Like maybe it is just kind of a common thread. Maybe if it had taken place in Dagestan, it would be a little bit different, obviously,
Mhm.
something like that. But like when you're talking about developed world, developed countries and all this kind of stuff, there's a basic kind of progression that people go through, and this character just happens to have other extenuating circumstances that affect it, but the core of what you do as a fighter, is kind of universal.
Yeah, I hear that.
So all right, well, I mean, I guess that wraps it up for episode 3, unless you got anything else you wanted to mention before we close this thing out.
No, I think we should just be ready for episode 4. We should be able to get that done next week for you guys. And like I said, I don't enjoy this show necessarily, but watching it and being able to review it with you guys is definitely awesome.
Absolutely. I can agree with that 100%. So we're going to get through episode 4. We're going to get through episode 5. And I guess we can tease it right here and now. Star of The Cage, Cyril Gahn, has a full-length feature film that is also coming out on Netflix next month. And Chase and myself are planning on reviewing that as well. So we're going to get through The Cage. We'll take it all the way to episode 5 and then keep an eye out for Cyril Gahn's film. I forget the title off the top of my head, but it has been announced. I think the trailer is already out there. I specifically have not watched the trailer knowing that we were going to review it. So I'm trying to go into it as fresh as possible. Go ahead and watch it if you want to check out what that has to offer you. But we're going to be taking a look at that when that releases as well.
Hell yeah. No, so I'm excited for that. Cyril Gahn is definitely a movie star in the making. And obviously, it's good to see physical performances from people who do the physical roles. I've been saying it for a while. When it comes to action stars, why not get the people who do the action for real? Like, you got stuntmen who do the shit, but then you cast a dude that's not the stuntman. I don't know. You guys, I think Cyril Gahn might be a lot better than what we're expecting when it comes to the physical performance.
Definitely the physical performance it should be there, and we're going to get to see him like really flex his acting abilities because we've only seen it in very select ways on this show, but he has a much bigger role in this movie. So, we're going to see what he really has dramatically as well.
I mean, being the main character, I mean, you have to have some sort of idea that I have a performance that I have to do. Like, it's not just Cyril Gahn doing action moves. Like, you're the main character. You're not just Cyril Gahn. So hopefully
I don't even know if
goes on.
Well, I don't know if it's actually confirmed that he is the main character or
He's
not.
on the goddamn cover. He better be.
He's one of them for sure. He definitely, yeah. I mean, he has a prominent role in this film.
I would not be surprised if that was his, or he's like the villain that's got like a 5-minute role or something.
Right.
I don't know.
So, well, we will find out in due time. So, yeah, I mean, that does it for episode 3 of The Cage. Keep an eye out for 4 and 5, and we appreciate you hanging with us and watching. Thanks very much, guys. Yeah, I mean, and just, I guess we can close out here as well. For the YouTube cut, that'll be where that goes. But, yeah, I mean, Chase, I guess let everybody know where they can find you.
Everybody can find me doing watch-alongs every Saturday that there's UFC, occasionally on Fridays if Karate Combat decides to let me know when they have cards. That is on youtube.com/@CPSmalls. And then, of course, on Twitter, I'll be hanging around goofing off at x.com/@CreativePartin, PARTIN.
There you go. At Yama Show on YouTube, Instagram, and Twitter for me. We will be back, of course, on Monday. There are no fights this weekend. I still am working on some details, but there could be a very, very special announcement coming in the next couple of days regarding something for you to tune into on Sunday. So keep your ears and eyes peeled on all of the Yama socials for that. Still working it out, but I'm getting close to being able to reveal what I'm talking about there. So, just before we wrap up, thank you very much to Big Onk, MMA, John Dong, E-Money J, Sierra West Coast, and Beeb for all checking in with us while we were doing this. Appreciate each and every one of you guys. Thanks very much. And we will catch up with you soon. Hopefully some new content on the channel as well coming within the next couple of days. So thanks, y'all. Have a great rest of your night. And as always, fight on.
Change.